What's going on, everyone? It's Icthelios, and today we're going to be going over an updated Awakening Sage guide for PvE. Both Awakening and Succession Sage recently had buffs to their kit for PvE, and both classes have seen an increased performance in their overall efficacy, especially at higher end grind spots. What we'll be doing is going over some basics for Awakening Sage. We'll be discussing mechanics, skill rotations, and I'll be showing off a few areas for Awakening Sage with the recent update, just to go ahead and show off some of my equipment. I'm currently 301 Kudum with full DR, which as we eventually start pushing higher DP, will be going in for evasion. We currently run double Monster Hunter artifacts with a Wilds Lightstone set. So basically this is just to give us some extra monster AP across the board, since it applies universally to most grind spots. So what we'll go ahead and do is we're going to start with just going over some of the mechanics of the class, and then we'll start looking at skill rotations. So to start off, Awakening Sage has a mechanic known as Overcharge. Overcharge simply is a mechanic where whenever you use a skill, Sage gets an overcharge buff. However, there is nothing that will indicate that you are currently in an overcharge state, and typically the overcharge state only lasts for a certain period of time. So two skills that primarily benefit from the overcharge state is going to be our dash, which is just shift in any direction, which is bolt, and then also our spacebar skill, which is lightning surge. So right there is surge, and when you cast surge, that also puts us into an overcharge state. So the primary benefit to overcharge is that it makes our dash an iframe, and then it also gives lightning surge, air attack, and down smash when it is overcharged. So as you can see here, we'll just do a simple shock relay, which is R&B into our dash. And as you can see, we have an iframe. Now, to go ahead and show off the overcharge of surge, we'll just go ahead and use the lightning bolt to CC this. And then we got the down smash there with surge, which can only be done in its overcharge. So the other benefit to overcharge is that it allows us to cast bolt when it's on cooldown. So as you can see here, as you can see on the second dodge, we were able to get a dash off of bolt even though the skill was on cooldown. So learning how to properly use overcharge will actually help us get more distance with our skills across the board and help us when moving from pack to pack. So the next thing to look at is going to be our skill rotation. Our skill rotation is going to follow off of two specific skills, and those two skills are going to be Lightning Prison, and the other skill is going to be Upsurge. The reason why these skills are going to be important for initiating our combo is because they are able to tie into the flow Interrogate, and Interrogate gains the benefit of activating add-ons that are linked to Lightning Prison, which is the only Tier 3 add-on skill that we have in the Awakening kit. So your combos are going to initially start off with Chain Lightning, which is going to be down R&B into Lightning Prison to get your T3 add-ons. And once you finish that, you will begin to initiate the rest of your combo. Or the other option will be to use Chain Lightning into Upsurge, followed by both hits of Interrogate to make sure that you maximize your T3 add-on uptime. So continuing with our combo, what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and just do a full standard PvE rotation that we'd use on just about any mob pack wherever we're grinding. And then once we've done the full rotation, I'll go by each piece of the combo and explain each skill and why we use it in a particular order. Just to give a quick disclaimer, through the next part of the combo we'll be using, you can use any of the three skills, which are going to be our F, and our down left mouse button skills. They can be used in any particular order. However, I typically arrange them from the shortest cooldown to the longest cooldown, because it allows us to typically have another cast of our down F, which is our Autor Spear, at the ready whenever we may need it. So to start, we'll go ahead and do a full combo. Before we demonstrate the full combo, just two things that I want to go over is going to be skill linking with two specific skills in the Awakening Sage kit. In a prior update, we were given the ability to now cast Spear Bolt from two specific skills, one being Lightning Surge and the other being our Chain Lightning. So with both of those skills, we can now use them more fluidly in our combos. So just to go ahead and demonstrate Chain Lightning, and then we will demonstrate the Surge. So that'll be casting Spear Bolt from Chain Lightning into Surge, and then if we were to go ahead and initiate with Surge, and even though Surge is on cooldown, we still can cast that skill. It'll cost stamina, but it just adds additional DPS to our combo. So, as you can see from the combos demonstrated, there is a lot of Shock Relay that is used, and that is because Shock Relay is a very easy cancel, and it also provides extra damage and will give us a permanent 20% crit buff for most of our skills. Combine that with running crit buff on our Lightning Prison gives us a base of 50% for the majority of our skills. So, just to go over the skill syntax to give you an idea of the more basic combo, going to be Shock Relay into Upsurge, then into Interrogate, and then Spear Bolt into Surge, Shock Relay into a Torch Spear, Relay into Radiant, Relay into Enlightening Bolt. And then once they're down on the ground, or if they're close to being dead, you can simply Relay again into Rift Storm. And for most packs, that will typically kill them. So from the combos demonstrated so far, we have a lengthier combo as well as a shorter combo. Both typically have purposes depending on the type of grind zone that you're going to be in. For places that have a lot of monsters, you'll want to use the shorter combo, as mobs will typically have much less health and will die a lot faster. Areas like the Serendia Orcs in Elvia, as well as the Bloody Monastery, the short combos are really good for there, and when you have weapons, you can go through them even faster. For areas such as Jade Starlight, the extended combos are a bit better to use because you can maintain your T3 add-ons while killing the packs, and since there are so few monsters, it helps to maintain as high as uptime as you can for those T3 add-ons, as it will greatly help with your clear speed. So now we will go ahead and go over the extended combo, and I'll go ahead and slow it down and show just the skill order that we use when grinding. And just note, like the first combo that we did, even though I didn't start off with Chain Lightning, when Chain Lightning is available, you will cast it as it is one of the best pulls in the game, and I will show off some tricks you can use with it after showing off these combos. So to demonstrate, we're going to go ahead and just start with Chain Lightning, cancel, Lightning Prison, cancel, Spear Bolt, Surge, cancel, Spear, cancel, Radiant, cancel into Enlightening Bolt, cancel again into Aftershock, both hits, cancel into Upsurge, casting both casts, then cancel again into Rift Storm, as long as the mobs are still on top of us. So to address a couple of things real quick, going forward, some skills we haven't really touched on. One is going to be Impaling Flash, which is our Shifty. The reason why we haven't really addressed Impaling Flash is because the function of the skill is we basically throw a spear and then we'll tag the target, as you can see, with what is a glowing Arcannon right above that enemy. We will dash to that target and deal damage to them, as well as damage in a small AoE. The reason why we don't have that skill in our combo is the utility of that skill is going to come either giving us another dash to get behind our enemies, simply by using Impaling Flash and holding forward, we'll be behind them, but also it can provide additional damage for areas where you'll have smaller mobs grouped up together, as it allows you to deal more damage in a small AoE. So when you're grinding areas like Okjinshini and you have only 2 or 3 mobs per, say, brazier or the little nodes that you might be hitting them at, the Impaling Flash is going to be more of a damage loss than it is a damage gain. But if you can have the spawn of at least 5 of them, you typically can get away with using Impaling Flash and getting some moderate damage with that skill. Another skill we haven't gone over is the class skill, which is Divine Executioner, where you will leap into the air, and as well as the Flow Judgment. The purpose of this skill is mainly as a form of travel, due to Sage being very stamina heavy. So if we were to have a pack here and a pack over there, we would simply Divine Executioner and be right on top of the mobs that we are trying to fight. So this skill would not be used practically in any of our combos, as the animation is very long and no damage is being done during the time of traveling into the air, as well as moving until the lightning bolts strike a target. So we've seen a couple of skills and combos when we use our cancels with Shock Relay, and what I'm going to do now is just show you a combo without Shock Relay, just so that you can visually see the difference in the cancels. So as you can see just off of the variations in the combos, that adding Shock Relay has a large benefit not only to our DPS, but also to allowing us to cast our skills a lot faster, and allowing us to maintain a permanent 20% crit buff on our rotation. So now that we've took a look at the importance of having Shock Relay in our combos, something I want to show you is how to make Shock Relay very natural and fluid part of your combos. That way you don't kind of run into some issues that old classes used to have. Prime example would be the old warrior style grind, where a lot of your damage and your combos were heavily influenced by what was called Q canceling, which was just simply using your block to animation cancel. That way you could quickly cast more skills as quickly as possible. So with Sage, you have the ability to just simply hold down your right mouse button, and he will forever cast Shock Relay when it's available, as long as you have mana. What this allows us to do is it allows us to more easily do our combos without having to constantly press our right mouse button. So this is actually my trick that I use whenever I'm grinding, to not only get extra damage into my combos, but be able to easily maintain that crit buff, and also just have Shock Relay as a part of the combo without breaking my mouse. So with that in mind, what we'll do now is we'll just go over one of the short combos that we use here, and just pay attention to the button UI to see where and how I hold down the right mouse button to maximize its efficiency in the combo. Another skill that we can get a lot of value out of by actually not aiming at our targets when we are grinding is going to be Chain Lightning. Chain Lightning is arguably one of the best pulls in the game, as it shoots a beam of lightning out from the end of your Cabellius and will strike up to 10 targets. And the benefit of that is that it will seek out the targets to strike if they're within a certain radius of each other. So what we can do from here is we have these 3 targets, and what we'll do is we'll actually aim right between these 2, cast our Chain Lightning, and see how the skill just automatically hits all 3 of them. As you can see, they have the pain debuff. This is a very good way of pulling the max amount of targets within a certain range of your skill. That way you can get the most efficient pulls when grinding. Alright, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and tackle is going to be our skill add-ons. So, looking across what we have for skill add-ons, one that I recommend, almost mandatory, is going to be Lightning Prison, and that is because it is our only T3 skill for our Awakening kit, and it's, in my opinion, best to go ahead and put the AP monsters plus 30, as well as the critical hit plus 30% on this skill. We'll discuss why we go for critical hit. Another one that I would say comes in very close to mandatory if you don't have the mana pot is running mana recovery on your Chain Lightning. This will give you a lot of resource power back whenever you are pulling mobs and getting them set up for your combos. Another skill which only really benefits from a similar effect is going to be Impaling Flash, and that'll typically be in areas where you have high mob concentration. For areas like Okjinshini or the Jade Starlight or Trolls, it's not really that good of a skill to have or skill add-on, and you could typically replace this with something else. Another one that I strongly recommend is going to be Spear Bolt, and I recommend having a cast speed on that skill along with back attack damage. The only thing I would change is to drop your cast speed and instead run your critical hit damage, as it is good to have both of those, since Sage is able to crit very heavily with a lot of his kit. And then also with being able to position yourself behind mobs with skills like Spear Bolt and Impaling Flash, you get a lot of benefit out of having this on your add-ons. And Lightning Bolt is a little bit of flavor, and Tor's Spear, I typically like to run this as a debuffer skill because it has an innate minus 9% evasion. So just going that extra 4% helps for making sure that we're always landing hits, and then getting a little extra accuracy, which does stack with our plus 9% that comes from Radiant Annihilation. So those two skills alone in our combos just make sure that we're always landing our hits, and they have a very long uptime. This is 10 seconds on the debuff of evasion, and then accuracy is only 7 seconds here, but you get an extra 9 seconds from the separate accuracy buff from Radiant Annihilation. So, in looking at the skill add-ons for skills such as Enlightening Bolt, and why we run critical hit on that is because of our summons. Awakening has several skills that have a summon tied to them, which is known as the Sage's Arcannon, and those skills are going to be Spear Bolt, Aftershock, Enlightening Bolt, Radiant Annihilation, and Shock Relay all use the Arcannon. And with the changes that were made to summons in the game, the summons no longer have their own critical hit rate. So as you can see with Enlightening Bolt, the Arcannon has a 50% hit rate, which means there's always a very good chance the skill is going to hit, but it doesn't have a critical hit rate, whereas a skill like a Tor's Spear has a base 50% hit rate. So when combining the Shock Relay critical hit buff with Lightning Prison to give us a 50% base crit rate buff, as well as having what we use here, I will run Spirit Perfume Elixirs for the plus 5 crit, which gives us another 18%. That gives us a 68% base critical hit rate for our summons, and for our non-summon skills, we will pretty much always have a critical hit on those skills if they don't already 100% crit. So skills like Upsurge, a Tor's Spear, and Impaling Flash are just a few that don't have 100% crit, but with these buffs in place, you will be critting almost every single one of your skills, and most of your Arcannon skills will be critting as well, which you will want to maximize that damage on your Arcannon since you will be using them all the time in your combos. The last thing to look at before we go ahead and start grinding is just going to be the core skills that we look at, as well as the skill enhancements being our bomb skills. So we'll just take a look real quick. The core skill to take is going to be Enlightening Bolt. Bar none, there's no reason to really take any of these, just because a majority of the skills in the Sage kit have knockdowns or bounds or stuns that are predominantly PvE only. So you would really only take these depending on PvP and the type of game mode that you're using. And of those, you're just going to be a choice between either Spear Bolt, Upsurge, or Lightning Prison, simply because the stuns on these are very nice to have depending on your fights that you're matched up against. And then Core Spear Bolt's just nice because it's a good knockdown that catches people off guard pretty frequently. So predominantly the choice here is just going to be Enlightening Bolt. It's an additional forward guard on a skill that doesn't have any protection and is used in your combos when you're typically casting almost no protected skills. So it's just a good good skill overall, and it also has place in PvP if you ever need to use it. So looking at our bomb skills or the skill enhancements, the choices are fairly straightforward up until the last option here. This one you can kind of go both ways, but just to go over them real quick. A Taur's Palm is pretty much going to be the go-to skill. It's a nice heal, does good damage, can be used from the Awakening Kit. All of these skills can be used from the Awakening Kit, which makes them very nice to use. So a Taur's Illusion you would pretty much never use, as it's low damage, does a stun, but that stun is predominantly used for PvP. So really it's kind of a no-brainer here. Go with the Palm, it's a good heal. So then we look at the next one, Energized Thorn versus Piercing Thorn. You will almost never use this skill. There's no real reason to. It's more of a PvP skill. It doesn't really fit into our rotations anywhere. The damage is good. It's got 50% crit rate, and it's a forward guard, and it does down attack, but you would almost never really be in a position that you need to use it unless you're at a distance and need to cast a protected skill. Then just have that in the kit. It's nice to have. This is where you can kind of go both ways, Void Blast or Void Eruption. Void Blast recently got a buff to its heal on hit, and it's a 2-part attack, so this skill can actually heal you for a good bit. If you need the additional heal, maybe you don't have the HP pot, and it's not something you really want to go for, well, this is a forward guard skill, which is nice to have, and it'll heal you for 60 HP per hit, so it's a nice extra heal. When combined with a Taur's Palm as well in a rotation, you can get just a nice bit of sustain with that. But I would definitely recommend going the route of Void Eruption. It is a very quick casting skill, it is super armor, and it also gives you mana whenever you hit, and it's also 100% crit. So just to kind of demonstrate those skills being used from the Awakening Kit, we'll start with the Taur's Palm, and then we'll hit C and immediately go back. And Void Eruption is one that we actually do have to quick slot because there's no button for it. So cast, and then back, and then finally Spear. And that gives you some nice little protection whenever you're rotating into all of them except for the Palm. And with that, we will wrap up this video guide on Sage Awakening. If y'all have any questions or any pieces of information that you would like to toss in, feel free to add them to the comments below, and I will go ahead and add those to the description, or we can go ahead and just do a follow-up video. That way we can keep everything consolidated together for anyone who is trying to learn Awakening Sage or interested in playing the class. One final thing I will touch on before we close out here is just my thoughts and opinions when it comes to progression and what you'll be doing when you grind, and that is, I would strongly urge that you avoid trying to min-max your grind unless that is something you like to do, and to take the grind at your own pace and enjoy it for what it is. This game, I can tell you after 6 years of playing it, is definitely a marathon and not a sprint, so pace yourself the best way you can and enjoy the game for what it is. But if you are somebody who likes to min-max your trash loop per hour and keep pushing forward, then by all means, more power to you. As long as you're having fun, that is the most important part of this game. But I will recommend, when it comes to evasion or damage reduction, DR gear, as you are progressing through the gears, especially post-season, my opinion is to go the route of DR, as it will allow you to just keep stacking up AP accessories and getting the most out of your gear as you are pushing forward to higher brackets and higher thresholds. Sage is not an accuracy-starved class, unlike other classes in the game. We have a decent amount of passive accuracy, as well as skill accuracy, and with the add-ons that we have access to, as well as the debuffing capabilities that we have as a class, it's very difficult to recommend getting any accuracy accessories at an early game, especially with the earring that you get when completing the Mountain of Eternal Winter. So I would strongly recommend just keep pushing for AP accessories. Then as you get to the higher gear thresholds, start pushing towards 700 plus. If you feel you need accuracy as a part of your build, then by all means push for it. I personally would just recommend getting the Dawn's Earrings, as they do give additional stamina on top of high accuracy. But there's also the Turo's belt, which is always a solid option, as it gives a good amount of AP compared to most other belts, and a good amount of accuracy as well. So with that, we'll go ahead and close out here. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and if you have any other additional information to add, feel free to just toss it down. And with that, I will see you off.